We're going to take a little look at this tree just here. It's a type of fir and it's edible, so it's one of the conifers. The main ones that we're looking at conifer-wise are pine, spruce and fir, which is this one. Fir is typically what makes your Christmas tree, so in theory we can be eating our Christmas trees because this one's a fantastic edible. If we look at it from an ID point of view, we've got flat needles that grow around the stalk, but the actual needle itself is flat. It has two ridges that run up the base of the needle, and where it connects to the stem of the actual wood, there's a little suction cup which connects it, which are kind of the key ID features here. For firs, for all the firs, there's a whole load, and we don't need to know specifically the differences between them. They do produce minutely different flavours. So the key for distinguishing this between other conifers, if we had pine, we would have long needles, and then the needles all collect at the base. They're usually about this long and they're much darker. If this was spruce, I would really be struggling to grab it like this. It would be really sharp and pointy. And actually the individual needles of spruce have 4 edges. You can roll them in your fingers, whereas this one's flat. The only one we need to be wary of when we're picking firs is something called yew, Y-E-W. Now the leaves of yew typically grow on both sides. The wood is a lot more red of yew, and if you were to give it a little nibble, not advising you do, but this one tastes clementine citrus. Yew tastes quite acrid. Yew's typically found in cemeteries and monasteries and old religious places like that. So Douglas fir is a fantastic edible. It's got some really good uses. The flavour is somewhere between citrus, clementine and slight bubblegum sometimes. Just a really quick and easy way to use it is to pull the shoots off like this. If you've got fish, just tin foil around your fish with some of this, and it's either inside the fish or next to it, and it'll impart like a citrus clementine. It'd be like stuffing a clementine in there with the fish or stuffing a lemon in there with it. That's a really nice quick way of doing it. You can make fir sugar. So if you pop this or loads of this into a jar and then pour sugar over it, it'll pull out the essential oils and the flavour into the sugar and will flavour the sugar. So it'll give you a slightly citrusy sugar, which you can then use for baking, for making cookies, for making ice cream, for making sorbet, or for sprinkling on top of stuff. So you can do that with any type of sugar, icing sugar, caster sugar. It also makes a really nice syrup. So for a syrup, what I like to do is take the shoots like this, and then I'll put it into a really strong blender with as little liquid as possible, and I'll blitz it. So I'll try and use the most powerful blender I've got, and I'll blitz it into the liquid, and it'll come out and it'll be like an essence that comes out in the liquid, almost too strong to be using. And I'll do 50% sugar, 50% the liquid that's infused with the Douglas fir that's been blitzed. Boil it down so you get this really thick, gloopy, citrusy syrup, and then pass that then through either a cloth or strain it through a colander. And then you get this really nice liquid that's left over, and that can be used in cocktails, similar to lemon juice, lemon syrup, citrus. So I'll do like a wild mojito, but I'll do it with fir instead. So I'll pull out the lemon juice, the lime juice, and put a good shot of this in instead. It's one of those it's worth playing around with for a little bit. You can use it really nicely for doing a gravlax on salmon, so curing salmon. So what I would do for that is I would blitz this, I would mix it with 50% sugar and 50% salt, and I would try and get as much Douglas fir into it, and then I'd put that on top of salmon, leave it overnight, so about 8 hours, and then it starts to cure the salmon, but you get a really nice citrus that comes through, which matches the fish really well. And that's really tasty, just sliced up and served just as cured salmon. So that's it, Douglas fir, a really interesting tree that we find loads of when we're out in the woodlands and on our woodland walks, but something you would look at and probably think there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be cooking with a tree. But you can use it in loads of really quite exciting ways.